Hey YouTube, this is Ryan again, and today I'm here to talk about why Frieren relates to me a lot, and why it relates to a lot of other autobiographies that I've written. And we'll get into another topic probably later. So, why is Frieren important? I believe that Frieren is really important because of how it conveys the human experience. And you can see that through the human characters, the difference between the human characters and the more fantasy-oriented characters like Frieren, like Aura. You see those characters as they develop and how they view the world. And so you have characters like Sign, you have Stark, and Fern that are ultimately coming to terms with the idea of death and what you can achieve within a lifetime. And Frieren, has been around for many decades. And what I love about her story is that it's not exactly this power fantasy, maybe not like One Punch Man, but it's really a story about finding emotion when it's not necessarily there. Sometimes we're stoic. Sometimes I used to be stoic, right? And I think this matters because how we express ourselves on a much larger time horizon, because our emotions give us instinct, they give us passion, they give us so much stuff. But what Frieren teaches us is that when we are given a deadline, like death, we know the average human expectancy these days, that what does that mean? How much sweeter does that really make life, right? And I've been reading a lot of autobiographies recently, namely those of like Steve Jobs and Barbara Corcoran and many other amazing entrepreneurs. And I think Frieren's story is actually important, right? Because what makes Frieren so amazing alongside of those big names of people that have made impacts in our world as well is because of her journey of emotion and how she treats life and hard work, right? And I know that her journey is maybe a little unrealistic because of where she's come from and her race, but I think that we also have to learn to like a little bit from her. I think that there are some really good lessons about life, and that really means sticking to logic and reason that we see from her. But she also realizes that the time that she could have spent and doing the most fulfilling things, she just kind of took for granted with her old crew, that the people that she grew, right, with, those, she really took that for granted. And so that's really the main topic today, is what is leading a fulfilling life given our time span. And so we come down to two things. I had an amazing talk with someone a couple weeks ago, and we talked about two things, and that is role fulfillment. And you see Frieren really, that's a huge thing in Frieren, is how we fulfill roles, because that is ultimately such a huge contribution as to why people live very fulfilling lives. And that means being a father, a son, a mentor, a friend, and you really get that contrast with Frieren and her first group, right? Frieren is a little bit takes that group a little bit more for granted. But she still has a good time, and Himmel and all of those guys really make her realize what emotions are and what she's been feeling this whole time. But she's more of a friend and an ally of those people compared to Fern, which is more of a mentor figure. But it seems like she likes it sometimes, and to Stark she's more of a friend, maybe a little bit of a mentor. But think about the roles in your life. Think about the different types of relations you have and how you want to make the most out of them every day. So when you wake up, it's important to first be grateful for those connections, and then write down what you want out of them, and make sure you allot time to that, because at the end of the day, time's gonna go by so fast. And just like Frieren, we too are gonna lose track of time and hit our deadline. But unlike us, she has a lot of time to come to terms with that decision. You know? And it's really, and for me, it's a huge part of life is growing with people. A huge part of life is knowing that we have this inevitable time frame and making the most of that and saying, oh, screw it, I'm just going to go do that, you know, and just really taking the time to take risks and uncertainty with people that you might have just met or you've only known for a little bit, right? Because I'm only 21, but I mean, I say, oh, like, I've known this person for a while, but really, how long have I known them for? Not that long, you know, in the grand scheme of things. So it's definitely interesting, but, you know, Frieren is such an amazing way of telling the story of fulfillment through connections, right? And I think that it teaches you even more of that, of the world should teach you, you're not teaching, you know, the world should leave an impression on you, you know, because sometimes we think that what we've been taught, what we think matters, and it does to some extent, but really it doesn't. And when the world hands us back problems and strife, what do we give them in return? You know, and that leads to my next point, is community. And this isn't really a topic in Frieren, but I would say that, you know, it's I don't really see it covered that much in anime, you know, but or video games or whatever that might be. But, you know, it's definitely a good topic because role fulfillment goes a little bit hand in hand with community, you know, and both really come together to make a really long-lasting life, because you're continually investing into connections in the next, maybe the next generation. You know, I enjoy volunteering, I enjoy doing what I do. But, you know, altogether, it's really, to me, it really is about growing. So that's really what I wanted to say about Frieren today, and I really appreciate, you know, you taking your time to watch this. So, thank you.